How is it possible that Croatia are managing to get this far by taking teams to extra time and penalty kicks? I mean, this must be incredible fitness levels. It must be coaching. It must be focusing on penalty kicks. It must be a terrific game plan. This is such a small country. If you think of what, 4 million people in the country, half of them are women. It's insane to think that they can be so successful, produce such a talented team that can get this far in major tournaments. How are they managing to do it, Nigel?
Experience, quality, and football intelligence, Ian. That's what it is. And I think for me, like it's something that's achievable in a lot of nations if it's done the right way. If the right people are running, whether it's the football federation and looking at the development of players and how they develop players, and then you've got the right coaches who are coaches because they want to see players develop and not coaches who are just happy to be involved in football, as it happens in some other nations. That's what can happen. And it's not rocket science. And I can't stand when people make it seem like it's such rocket science. These people who are in power, you put the right people in the right place who are there for the right reasons. This is what can be achieved. For me, you've got a very experienced team. You've got super intelligent football players. And I don't want to talk about commitment, passion, and everything else, because that is basically the foundation of football now that should be known around the world. So that is what they've got. They have got that. And I think for me, the biggest thing with Croatia is it's the technical quality aspect, but it's also the football intelligence. That's why they're so feared when you come up against opposition. Because again, you look at them against Brazil. Brazil against South Korea, they were pressing South Korea, they weren't letting them breathe, but they knew they couldn't have that same approach against Croatia because Croatia can play through pressure. And that's football knowledge, and that's having the quality of players to be able to do that. Because when Brazil tried to press, all Croatia did is just use 1-2 touch play. They break the first line of press, and then they can be in that Brazil team. And Brazil recognized and knew that. So that's what it is for me. I think it's absolutely fascinating what they've done. I think really and truly they deserve a tremendous amount of credit. And I think Argentina are really worried about this game. I think Argentina are very, very worried about how good this Croatia side is, how good they are from a defensive standpoint, even without possession of the ball, how capable they are. And I think this is a very, very evenly matched both set of teams we're going to see, with one superstar on one side and the other on the other. Lionel Messi, Luka Modric. They're going to be the two individual players that these teams have, surrounded by a good cast of intelligent football players. And I think that really and truly, I think Croatia could do this, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I agree with a lot of what Nigel's saying. And I think to add to that, and now I'm going to qualify this, Croatia remind me a bit of Real Madrid. And when I say I'm going to qualify, I don't mean in terms of the way that they play, but we wrote Real Madrid off a lot of times in the last couple of years, saying like, it's a generation that's had its time, yet there were some, evergreen elements to that team. One of them, obviously, in common being Luka Modric. And I think that is what is enabling Croatia to make this run now. They have a lot of technical quality, as Nigel's pointed out. They have a lot of experience, but it's that blend as well. They've filled positions, that have weakened or players that have dropped off of the radar since 2018. Strinic, for example, at left back being one of them. Borna Sosa coming in. You've got Livakovic in goal now instead of Subasic. But I feel that it's a team that has grown together and gone through so much together over the last couple of years. You've got that right combination of players who have the experience, have the technical quality, and can still offer something. So Modric obviously being one of them, Brozovic another one, Lovren at the back, Perisic up top, and then you've got other new interesting elements coming in. We were raving about Juranovic the other day, Gvardiol coming into that defense alongside Lovren. It almost looks like the future is kind of set for Croatia already. Yet there are still some of these, old stagers who have something to offer. And I think the fact that they have so much, collective experience, notably from 2018, this is a real danger for Argentina, because I feel that in that game against the Netherlands, the Argentines showed the way that they can be beaten. And if you get at them mentally, if you fluster them, they will crack. And I think, for example, Scaloni must be looking at what happened with Paredes. No way that he makes that same mistake twice and sends him on, if they're in a similar situation where they're looking to, to play out the last 15, 20 minutes of a game, because it's so nearly backfired for them. The Croats will be looking at that, licking their lips, thinking, if we can, remain icy headed, we could get the Argentines, self-combusting, really.
Well, there's so many positives to talk about Croatia, not conceding many goals at all. The mentality, as you pointed out, tremendously well. The experience that they have. If you listen to their post-match interviews, it's such a calm and composed team that's talking. There's no head loss in this team. They've been in this position before. The experience is clearly there. And obviously the talent is there as well. So very, very difficult to score goals against. Obviously had a couple of 0-0 games in the group stages, but they know how to get the job done when it comes to the knockout stages with the experience they've got. And I mentioned it before, not many people are talking about this. To have the fitness levels to go through extra time and penalty kicks, but not just physically, mentally to have the fitness level to be able to deal with that. And then when you get into penalty kicks, to slot your penalty kick away, mentally, they are showing how strong they are. And you can see the whole nation is behind them. I played with a bunch of Croatian players, obviously got a bunch of Croatian friends. Klasnic, you know very well. Nigel as well, played with him, I'm sure, at Bolton. Crazy, crazy dude. Obviously a big St. Pauli legend. And Johnny Solentic, it's Robert Palikucha. I mean, so many great Croatian guys who just live and breathe their football club. But they don't just live for club football. They live for their national team playing games. If you watch what's happening in the stadium, around the stadium, on social media right now, there's so much love for Croatia. So how on earth, Nigel, I'm going to come to you on this question. How on earth does Scaloni approach this game? It was a great point that JJ pointed out. A little bit of a head loss, a little bit of a lack of concentration from Argentina. They could have got slowed up tremendously in that quarterfinal game against Netherlands and almost got knocked out there. So how does he approach this game knowing what's coming his way, but still knowing he's got to find a way to try and get it done in 90 minutes?
I think the thing for me, Ian, is I'll probably throw it back to yourself and JJ as well. I don't see Argentina having a plan B. I think what Scaloni has done, he's made them a team dynamic. Now you see that it's not all Messi centralized and everything is give it to Messi and let Messi beat 5 or 6 players and put it in the top corner. You see now players willing to make more runs in beyond. They're not being as static as they once used to be. And we saw that with the first goal against the Dutch with the reverse pass by Lionel Messi. Argentina 5-6 years ago, Lionel Messi would pick that up. Argentina players would stand still and just let him do his thing. But now you're seeing that it's a team dynamic, but I don't see a plan B. And like how the Dutch rattled them by being physical and direct, that's going to be a problem for this Argentina side. And I don't think they've got players or the tactical substitutions that they can make to be able to weather that kind of storm. And my question I was going to ask to you guys is this, that JJ from a press perspective and then Ian from a player's perspective, how much pressure do you think these Argentinians are going to be under now that they're in the semi-final so quick? JJ will probably be giving us the press perspective in the sense of the amount of media attention that they'll be getting. And Ian, do you think that is going to weigh down on the players? What's your opinion? I personally think that it is. And I think also with how they got through against Holland, them playing Croatia and how dangerous Croatia is, I think the burden is really going to be a big problem for these Argentinian players in this game, while it's not going to be a burden for Croatia players. What do you think?
It's really interesting that you brought this point up, because I was having this chat with somebody over lunch the other day, and they were saying, I just get this feeling every time I see Argentina scoring a goal at the World Cup. It's not necessarily the outpouring of joy that you see in other teams. It's almost like relief, like we've scored that goal. You know, we're going to continue our journey. And I think it's the flip side of the coin of what I was talking about a while ago, where that narrative before the tournament that was written about Messi making sure that people know that it's going to be his last World Cup, as great and as useful as that is in terms of its motivation for the players, that also ratchets up the tension. You know, and now when they feel, like you said, like they're getting so close, you know, they're one step away from getting to the final, potentially 2 games away, you know, from lifting the trophy. It is, I mean, it is going to, you know, bring a lot more pressure, a lot more expectation. You know, people are believing, you know, in Argentina that this is their year, you know, but that sort of belief, I think, was born out of the fact that many people expected Argentina to wipe the floor with every single team they'd come up against. Obviously, they got a rude awakening against Saudi Arabia, but now they've started to see again with the Netherlands, you've got you know, teams are not just going to lie down and be beaten. And I think, you know, it's going to be really interesting to see the faces of those players during the anthem ahead of the game against Croatia, because there are going to be quite a few players now who are wary that, you know, they've come so close, yet, you know, it could be so close so far, in case they do get beaten by a very, very good, very composed Croatian side, because they will thrive in that kind of situation. They're not expected to beat Argentina. They're definitely the underdogs, and they know that Argentina are viewed as such heavy favorites, not just in that game, but for the title overall, that, they're going to be second guessing themselves if they haven't scored after, I don't know, the first half, something like that. And, there's going to be that nagging suspicion as well in the back of their minds that what we saw against the Netherlands the other day might come back again and be a factor.
I think it's a great question, Nigel. From a player's perspective, obviously in a World Cup stage, when you get to the latter stages of any competition, and you've been there yourself in multiple competitions, you do start to overthink sometimes the process. Who could we face? Who's next? Who's up? How do we get past them? Maybe we get to final. But also when you get to, as you mentioned also, like lifting a trophy, trying to get close to that trophy, you get to a quarterfinal and a semifinal, you're already starting to dream about putting your hands on that trophy. You're already starting to believe this is a realistic opportunity for us to actually put our hands on it. And I think the pressure is absolutely probably on Argentina more than any other nation that's left in this competition. But I don't think we've seen the best from this Argentina side so far. Now, Croatia, I have bet against pretty much all the way through the knockouts. And I don't know why, because they are just an unbelievable machine when it comes to knockouts. But Argentina, I think I will go for again, not just because of Messi, just because I'm waiting for them to have that performance that makes me say, you know what, they deserve to lift this World Cup. And if they can get past this Croatia, then I'd like to maybe say that they will most likely deserve to lift the World Cup. But then you've got to think, all right, it looks like you're probably going to have France in the final. I think they're probably relieved it's Croatia rather than Brazil in the semifinal. But that is a be careful what you wish for mentality, because this is an unbelievable national team that know how to get it done in the knockout stages. Nigel, real quickly before we get to some comments.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say quickly, for me, like I said, I think with this Argentina and Croatia crash, I think that Argentina are going to be more scared than people will actually believe to see. I think the burden is going to be so much, like JJ pointed out there, you feel that you're 2 goals away from the World Cup. That's going to be in these players' minds, because there's so much pressure nationally back home to win this World Cup because they believe they can. They don't have a plan B. There's less pressure on Croatia, less expectancy. I think that the favor and the pendulum swings in favor of Croatia. And also, with everything we've discussed earlier in this podcast with refereeing and everything like that, there's going to be a tremendous amount of scrutiny on the referee not to show any kind of favoritism to Argentina or Lionel Messi, because what we saw in the last game. So that is going to be something else that people need to pay attention to, because I think with what Messi got away with in that Holland game, I don't think FIFA are going to want that same thing again, where it can look where people are putting out these kind of rumors or their beliefs that FIFA are trying to make
Messi they want
win the World Cup. So I think that there's going to be a different kind of refereeing mentality for this game. I'm still going to go with a Croatia win.
I'm with you right there, and I can understand why you would want to do so as well. Shout out to Tomislav Pavlic. He's saying, come on, Croatia, right there. Love to see that there. Matt Osman said, as good as Croatia are, I really think Messi is on a warpath to this one. And that man is unstoppable when he's in that mode. I still haven't seen that best from Messi yet, even though he scored a couple of wonderful goals. Still think there's more to come from Messi. JJ, I'm sure you could back me up on that one. Steve Biambi saying Croatia deserve this World Cup. Simrish saying that Luka Modric will be on fire too. Argentina were rattled by Luke de Jong, the big man. Put a big forward in the box and they'll have to crumble. Very interesting to see, because it's not really necessarily that killer for Croatia up front, and they've managed to get to a semi-final doing it the way they know how to do it best.